Okay, go for it.
Okay, my name's Christine and I'm a life story coach in Kenya. And this year, the coolest thing that I wrote in my life story this year was to get a tank. I have a big house and I didn't have the tank for water. So all the water was getting wasted. And I was like, I need to harvest this water. And how do I harvest this water? I need a big tank so that I can harvest the water. So I wrote it in my life story that all the water is being harvested in this tank so that I can use it for personal use and other needs for doing my things. And I wrote it in December, like when I was checking on what I wanted to manifest this year. It is one of the seeds that I had put it down. So this year in March, this is March. I think early February, I went home to do a project called I Grow with My Tree. And a friend of mine said, like, I think instead of getting people to go to bring water from the river, and sometimes the rivers are very dry. So what happened is that the idea didn't come like harvesting water from my house, but then it just happened that because right now it is very dry. So the idea came out around that I can harvest water from the river and bring it to my house so I got 2 tanks, one for my house and one for watering and for general use. So that was big. So I got two big tanks, one smaller for the house and then one really big. And that was the coolest thing. And up to now, most of my friends are asking me, how did that happen? I don't know what happened. I just know that I wrote it down and it happened the way I was not even expecting. That was cool.
Sorry, I'm muted. I muted myself. That is really cool. Thanks for sharing that. I just, I have a lot of things that I'm working on all the time. And sometimes I feel overwhelmed about how am I going to get all these things done? But then I get reminded, like God will just remind me, you don't have to know how to do it. You don't have to know how to bring it to pass. You just have to write it like it's already finished. And then that's the creative partnership that we have with God. Like we take an idea in our mind and we plant it like a seed. And then we write it down like how we would take care of a seed in a garden. And then God makes a miracle from it. So awesome. Ediola, do you have something? What's the coolest thing that you've got from writing it in your life story?
Okay. Well, let me just share just one. Through last year, I think I was contemplating on, I've had a van that I had for a while. I'd had it packed for a while for some reason or the other. So I've been contemplating maybe I should just forget about a van and just get a smaller car. That's what I wanted to do. But each time I just, I look at the size of my family and I kept on saying that, a smaller car will not be. So, well, part of the life story was getting the van to work. It's like everybody's life story in the house. So we got a life story, and this January, miraculously, we got it fixed and we got it on the road. So that's one life story that.
It's a miracle.
That's one of the life stories. That has come to life. That's one of them. Work. That was a big life story that everyone was so excited about. Yes.
Is Becky here? Becky, are you here?
Okay, I think she's muted. Like I was
she's
muted. Yeah, I think she's trying to get some things done.
Yeah, sorry, trying to get someone directions to my place. Okay. Okay, so we have our first question is says, this is Sam from Uganda and I'm new to this. How do I begin my life story? How do I begin my life story? That is a perfect question because many of us are new to it, right? And many people are new that will be watching later. So how do you begin your life story? For me, the thing that I like to do is to write a list, just even on a piece of paper like this, or I will get my notebook. That's the very first thing you need, is to get a place to write your life story. And then I will start to make a list in the front of things that I wish were different in my life, things that I wish were different in my world. Maybe I will look at the different areas of my life, like in my health. What do I wish was different about my health? How would I like to be more healthy? How would I like to feel in my body if my body was more healthy? How would I like to feel in my mind? How would I like to be in my spiritual journey? How would I like to be in my relationship with God? And I will just write down the things that I would like to set as a goal, or these are the things that I would like to change in my life. And so I will just make a list, just so I don't forget that these are the things that I am working on. And then from that list, I will just write in my life story the things that I want to change. So that's what I do the very beginning. When I want to begin my life story, I will just make a list of things that I want to put in my life story. And I will start by getting a notebook and a pen or a pencil.
Becky, can you invite? There are people waiting for you to invite them in.
Oh, how come I don't see them? Christine, do you have any ideas? Like, what do you do? What do you say to someone who is new, who wants to start their life story?
Yes. What I usually do is that, just the way Becky has explained, you want to write your life story, so you know what you want. And when you think about what you want, do you really know what you want? Because here you have to know what you want. And most people, the problem is that they know what they don't want, but they don't know what they want. So you have to write it down somewhere. I don't want this, I don't want this, but I want this. And then you write what you want. What you want, you write it in the present tense, you write it in the first person, and you write it as if it is already happening. So you don't write like, I don't want to get sick. So you don't want to get sick. You know that you don't want to get sick, but do you know what you want? Like, I want to be healthy. I want healthy. So you have to know the difference. So the problem here is that most of the people, they'll keep on writing, I don't want to be sick, I don't want to be poor, I don't want to be fat, those kind of things. So you have to know how to write it. And you have to know what you want. And then you have to know how to put it in stages, like health, spiritual, those, you have to know what you really want and know in the stages that you really have to do it. Yes. Becky, you can go ahead.
Awesome. Adiola, do you have ideas or suggestions for people who are just starting?
Yes, I think just in line with Christine said, it's very important to be clear as to the things in which you want. If you are not clear about things that you want or things that you really want to come your way, it makes the life story bleak. It's like there's nothing ahead of you. But once you have been able to clear your mind on what you want, then it's an easy way to start. Now, some of the other things to also clear out of your mind is giving a particular structure or a particular means by which the things that you want should come. I think when you do that, you give yourself some amount of limitation. So you don't say, okay, I want this person, or you want and you specify how the things should happen. I think with that, it limits how the things comes to you. So I think part of writing a life story is to clear your mind as to the exact way you want the things to happen. Because with that, it brings a lot of limitation in actually achieving or bringing that thing to pass. So Christine has already given some of the rules of it. You write in the first person and you write as though it were present. And I think that's the real way to go. So first things first, decide on what you want. And one of the ways that you decide what you want is you want to put in what areas of your life are you writing a life story on. Yes, so when you know the areas of your life, whether it's academic, whether it's financial pursuit, whether it's health-wise, like you made mention earlier, determine those areas that you want things to work out for you. And once you determine the areas, then you can then determine what you want with regards to that area. Then you can start, you can individually identify those areas rather than chunking them together. So that's some of the ways I would encourage anyone to go begin the life story. And also try also having that positive attraction, and having that positivity is also very important, because if you start a life story with an initial doubt, and you are writing and you're like, oh, is it really true? That is what I'm writing, is it really true? That alone can kill the whole story. Yes. So first things first, state which area you want to write the life story, determine the things in which you want, clear your minds of how you clear your mind on giving specifics on how the things should happen. Don't worry about that. That's not what you should worry yourself about. Then lastly, be positive in your mind. Yeah, those are things I would say.
Awesome. Really good points. So Robert's put in a question here. He says that he wrote in his journal by the end of this month he should have been able to pay his school fees, but he got to the end of the month and he hadn't met that goal and he couldn't do it. So what do you do about this? What is happening in this situation and how can we do it? And the first thing I would like to say is that life story is something we practice, and the more you do it, the easier it gets. Because in the beginning, when you start, you're always fighting with your old stories still, right? So even though you write it down, the writing down actually is going to shift the old stories, but sometimes that takes a little bit of time. And I think that's part of what Adiola was talking about. Like if you put God in a box on it, like this has to be by this time, sometimes it's great to put a time limit on it. Sometimes it works fantastic. And other times it can be a little bit messy because it will cause you to doubt whether or not it's going to work or not. And so all of a sudden you think you are thinking about your school fees paid, but now you are worried that they are not paid. So you spend that time of your of the month, like that whole time period of that month, worrying that your school fees are not paid and if you're going to meet that goal by the end of the month. And so you're actually thinking about the thing that you don't want when you should be thinking about that it's finished. And again, when we're practicing, we're always having to I had a mentor once who used to tell stories about, if you are a young mother or a young father and you have a very small child, and maybe they just keep walking out to the front of the house, to the street, and it might not be safe for them to play out there, right? And if any of you that have had children have had this experience, right? So you have to walk them back to the back. And then next time you turn around, they will just be back out in the front again. So you have to take them by the hand and walk them back to the back. And he said that's how our brain is. Our brain is like that. Like it's going to walk to the place that's not safe, the place that we don't want it to go, and we will have to bring it back. And then it will just, as soon as we turn around, it's going to do the same thing again. We have to bring it back, keep walking our brain back to where we want it to be. And it takes some practice. So Christine, do you have any thoughts or ideas about that kind of situation when maybe you put a time limit on something, and then like how can, number one, how can you use a time limit to your advantage? Like maybe sometimes that you have done that's worked for you, and then maybe like what would you suggest for a situation like this?
Okay.
Go ahead, Christine. Sorry, I'm gonna mute everybody.
Oh, I think for me, in the beginning, when I was writing my life story, I used to think about when it is going to happen. But nowadays, I don't think about the time frame. I just know that I've already planted the seed, I've prepared the ground, and I know it is going to happen. So nothing is going to stop me from getting what I want. And my energy and focus is just focus on how it's going, not how it's going to happen. So I really don't put a time frame on that is so attached, like I really need this by tomorrow, because then my focus is going to be on and what if it doesn't happen tomorrow? And then now I've already destroyed the energy. So what I do is just, I know what I want, I've already prepared the soil, I've chosen the seed, and I know it is going to happen. So maybe Becky, you can just say it, because I think I'm so used to doing it that I don't even care how it is going to happen. But for those who are starting now, maybe they will want to know the way forward.
It's one of those things that you get better at it with practice as you go. So here's the thing. I love what you said, Christine, about not putting a time frame on it, but just trusting that you have put in your order, right? Like sometimes if you go to a restaurant or you go someplace and you're going to buy food, you tell them what you want, and then you wait for them to prepare it. You wait for them to bring it for you, but you don't sit and worry, oh, it's not going to be here by this time. You just know that once you have put the order, it's going to be coming to you, right? If you have fear about it, that will make it slow. It will slow it way down, and it will put it off, because you have to be able to overcome that fear. And that's what we are practicing. But you can always just think of it like, oh, I have put in my order. They are preparing it for me. Like God is preparing it for me, right? And then he will just send it as soon as it's ready. And then honestly, okay, Ghanaians, I know that we know, God willing, right? We all have this trust in our heart that when the timing is right, it will be, right? Like we have all learned to trust God. Like as soon as it's the right time, it will happen. I have heard you even say it myself many times. I even say it. So we have to come to it with that kind of trusting as well, that even though we write it in the life story, we have put in the order is coming to us. And then also just trusting that the timing will be perfect. The trick is to make sure that you are picturing it finished, picturing that you have it, and not worrying about why it hasn't come yet, where is it, looking for it. Because honestly, if you plant a small seed and you let it sprout, I have just done this because the rainy season is coming, right? It's here now. So we have just planted our garden. I have just planted small seeds for our vegetables. And but when I plant them, it's going to take a few days before I will see anything, right? It's going to take a few days before I see any kind of sprouting that's happening. So I'm not going to go and dig up the seed to see if it's sprouted, because then that's what we do when we are worried that it's not happening or it's not here. It's like going in and digging around to check and see if the seed is sprouting, and that will surely kill the seed. So you have to just trust that there's a time under the soil where the seed is sprouting, it's doing something, you can't see it, but you just have to know that in small time, it will come.
Yeah, Can I add something?
Yeah, please.
Yes, and also I think life story is almost as though you're trusting in a timing, not your own timing this time around. Yes, but the Lord's timing. And that's a very, very important thing. Now, also in the period of life story, you have to also envision it. Part of envisioning, we talked about intention, and intention is you are imagining it, and also when you set an intention for something, you are actually acting it. Yes, so it's you don't just, although you are not necessarily going to work out all the modalities of how the thing is going out. So you are thinking of your school fees, for instance. You do not necessarily need to think that, okay, it's going to come from an uncle or an auntie or an organization or something. That's not necessarily, you don't have that to think about, right? But one of the things you do in that time is, as you envision the payment of the school fees, you may also think of opportunities that are around that you may seize. Yeah, because you prepare yourself. Is the intention, your intention is that you want to pay your school fees. So in part of those preparation is preparing yourself to receive it. Yes, you don't know which means it may come. Yes, it may have to be an opportunity comes up for you that you need to seize that opportunity. So you put yourself in that motion of looking out for it, but not necessarily working out the exact um, mechanism or modalities of how it will exactly happen. But you prepare your mind for the opportunities that may come that will aid you in being able to pay for that fees. So it's not about writing it down, set in motion the fulfillment of it. But however, the intention part of it is also preparing yourself to receive or to make those things come to pass. Yes, so that's something I also like to add to the things you said.
Awesome.
Can I share something, Becky?
Yes, please.
Okay. You know, concerning life story, I have write so many things concerning life story and the things that I want to do to execute my vision and my talent and how I want to do everything. For the guy who want to pay his school fees, what plans did he make to pay his school fees? As maybe he don't have anybody to pay his school fees for him. What plans did he do? Life story is having a vision, planning to execute your vision and make it happen. So how can you do to pay that school fees? What steps can you make to go forward to get the necessary resources or money to pay the school fees? What is there for you to do that it can earn you money to pay your school fees? Life story is the place to learn and to achieve your vision. You not sit down to create your vision and achieve it.
Yes.
So for me to add is to create and have a vision that this is my vision, I want to execute it. This is my vision in future. So if my school fees is not paid, I cannot go to school and achieve or finish my education and what I want to do in future. So I have to try my best to plan, put what I want to do down. If I want to pay my school fees this semester, what are some of the plans I put down? As you said you write everything down. And when you pick that paper, you know that this one is not executed. Then when you executed that plan, you take it and know you have executed that plan. So everything you have to plan, you have to know that next semester, no, the semester that has passed, I didn't have anybody to pay my school fees. What plan am I putting to execute my school fees or to pay my school fees this semester? So you have to write it down and know that
you can include
this,
your plan.
yes, and
Yeah.
know that if I included my plan, what can I do to execute that plan?
Yeah,
So
and I think it's really a good point that you can include your plan that you have in what you write. I know I have had times, I think even when I wrote down that I want to come to Africa the first time, I had no idea how I was going to do it. I didn't even have a plan. I had no plan on how to do it, but I just wrote it down, one sentence, that this is what I do. And as soon as I started to think about that, and as soon as I wrote it down, then after that, then some ideas started to come to me. So then I went back to the place where I had written down the one line and I started to add it in. I started to add the parts that I knew. So when I started, I didn't know how it would come to pass. But then as I wrote down what I did know, you write down what you do know, right? If you write down what you do know, then the pieces that you don't know, they will start to come to you and you can just add them as you go.
Yes, I do agree with that so much. It's not in every instance that you would have a clear idea of how the things be accomplished, and that's the beauty of a life story. You don't necessarily have to have the clear vision as to how it will happen. You just have to first write it down. And when you write it down, there's something about that. It just begins to, the attraction begins to happen. The attraction of how the thing will come to pass. It's you opening your mind for it. And once you open your mind for it, it's not about writing it down. Like I said, it's not about writing it down, folding your hand. Like when you wrote your vision about coming to Africa, I don't think, although you wrote it down, you do not have a clear means by which it will come to pass. But you may have spoken to people about it. You may have listened and taken opportunity and advantage of a conversation and chipped in your intention of coming to Africa. And I think that's what it's all about. You prepare your mind. It's like preparing the ground for the seed. Once you prepare the ground for the seed and the things start working together, you may not, then when it starts germinating, then you can align yourself towards that. So I think that's very, very important.
Yeah. Thank you. And I think, there's two different kinds of action steps: the action that you take on the things that you know, or this is how I'm going to do it. This is how I'm going to put it together. But there are pieces that you don't know. The other action step is to follow whatever comes to your mind. Because once you have written it in your life story, for example, when I wrote down to come to Africa the first time and I didn't know how to do it, after a few weeks, I had two ideas that came to my mind. They weren't anywhere around when I started, when I wrote down that I wanted to come to Africa. They weren't anywhere. I didn't have any idea at all. But once I wrote it down, I had two ideas that came to my mind in the next few weeks. And then I followed, those were the action steps. I followed those plans, and that's what made it happen. And sometimes things just take a little bit longer than you think. So when I write my life story, I like to write something like bigger things and also small things, because sometimes you can write something small and then it will just happen right away. And then you will see that your life story, it is working. And sometimes the bigger things just take a little bit longer. So good question. I'm sure we will have a lot more that we can even talk about that. Okay, we have some comments. There was another one. Hang on. Oh, Adiola, can you please give an example of the structure? You said something about structure in your comment. If he's there, or we'll come back to that.
Okay, I think.
Yeah, yes, you are.
Yes, that was the initial contribution about how the life story. So yeah. It is identifying what area, identifying first the area. So let's say, for instance, providing for my family needs. And maybe one area is that, like Christine said, so maybe I don't have enough, or I don't have enough protein in what I want. I need protein in my food. Now I have identified an area, and I've also identified what it is that I want. I want enough protein in my food. That is the life story. So my life story then is I need my life story is that my family have enough to eat and they have enough protein in. We have enough protein to eat. That is, I've identified the area which is maybe maybe the health wise, and I've identified what it is that I want. Then the other thing is I should not worry my mind about how it is not going to happen or the fears of it, and clear up that doubt. Then also open my mind to what are some of the possibilities. So before, an instance is during the COVID. At that time, my family had some challenges, and this is just a classic example of we want more protein in the food. So what I did at that time, I had some small money. What I did is, okay, I said, it was a story I'd given myself, but at that time that I've written that story, I did not have an exact thing I needed to do. But another opportunity came to me. Something came to my mind that why not buy pigs? And I decided to buy 2 pigs around that time. And it's just happy. It wasn't an initial plan was not to buy pigs. I didn't have that initial plan to buy pig, but this was what I had in mind, or we had in mind. And I bought those 2 pigs, and I tell you, I've had countless number of pigs in my house, and that's a life story that come to reality. So that's just one instance of how the structure of a life story can be used. Just an example. Thank you.
So it just showed up in a way that you didn't think of before. It wasn't
Exactly.
your plan, but it just came to you in a different way. Yeah, yeah. That happens a lot. Okay, we have another question, follow-up question to that. Please, what are some of the other things you should look up to before writing down your life story? I'm not totally sure what that means. What do you mean by look up to? If you want to clarify that question, what you mean by what you look up to, what does that mean? And then we will answer that question. While we're waiting for clarification on that, I love this. Pastor Anthony from Western, he told me this story already, that he had a worker who stole from my workshop 2 weeks ago, and my workshop was closed. So he wrote in his life story, this new business, right? You can correct me if I'm wrong on this, Anthony, but he wrote in his life story, this carpentry business. And then within a few days or weeks of when he wrote it down, the guy who was working for him stole from him, and it caused the business to be closed for a time. And this is also very common, because sometimes when you will write something in your life story, and then it will look like it's going the other way, like something will happen. And so I told him, don't worry about this, because he's not the right guy. He's not the guy that's going to help you reach your goal that you wrote in your life story. So of course he has to go. And now you are raising your own vibration with your life story and the vibration of your business. He doesn't fit it anymore. He is in a low vibration himself. He is the kind of person that will steal from you. You don't want him to be working in your business, right? And so because your business is moving to a higher level, because you're upgrading your business, you're moving into a higher vibration around it. Of course, the low vibration people, they will not be able to stay. They will have to go. And so it's actually a sign when things like that happen for you, it's actually a sign that everything is working perfectly and your life story is right on track. I think I told the story before of a client that I had. She wrote her life story over the weekend, and by the next week, she had broken up with her boyfriend. She had lost her job. Like 2 or 3 major things happened, and she was quite worried. She's like, I wrote my life story of the things I want, and now I have nothing. And I was like, no, it's exactly working, because you wrote this kind of a relationship with your boyfriend, and he's not the guy. He's not the one that's going to provide that for you. So of course you have written it in your life story. He cannot stay. So he has to go. You have written this about your job and about your profession, and the job that you are working is not going to give you that. And so it also has to go. So don't panic when things happen like that. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. It's just your way of moving to that higher level where the things that you want to upgrade in your life can actually come to you. And sometimes you have to drop low level people and other parts of your life off if they are not in alignment with what you wrote. So I love that example. I love that example.
Yeah. Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
Yes. There was a friend of mine that was he was suffering from a particular type of sickness for quite a while, and then one time, after trying so much medication and other thing, then one time someone recommended a particular medicine to him, which he started to use. And when he started using it, like before dawn of that very day, he started feeling pains around his abdomen and other things like that. And he was talking about, oh, now I'm using this medicine. I have not felt this kind of pain before. And he was telling his other friend. Then his friend told him that, oh, then he said he wanted to stop using that medicine. Then the friend told him that, no, you don't have to stop using it. Maybe that is that medicine is working. That is why. And he used the medicine the second time, and it was like this answer to all his troubles. And it just, the sickness just like went away. Just after he had gone through several medication and that. What am I sharing this? What's the similarity? It's so in our lives when we're about to when a door is about to open up, there's likely some things that will pull us behind, that will make us feel that nothing is happening, or that will make us feel discouraged on a new path that we have taken. Yeah. And I think that's just what you shared about the life story. It is when something, I think that's just something to make you aware that yes, something is about to start working out for you. So it shouldn't be, it may the initial point seems discouraging, but it's a way to tell you that yes, something is beginning to work. And I think that's something that comes to my mind as you shared that.
Yes, thank you. And I also want to point out from Anthony's comment on here, because in his comment, he's explaining about the worker who stole, but I want you guys, as we read his comment, to see how many ways his business moved ahead from having this one bad guy employee, right? That he thought was going to be a setback. But look, he says the shop was closed, but I had to look for another carpenter and follow up on the license procedure. So he had to follow up on that other piece and also set up a pay bill number for ensuring that my business is secured. And so that's 2 things that came out of it. And on Tuesday, I received a new worker, so the new guy, who is now working, and also I have booked another worker coming on Saturday for 4 things, and also I've gotten a pay bill number for payment and have also cleared 1-year license. Okay, look how many ways his business moved ahead when he cleared out that wrong guy. Is that awesome or what? Is that awesome or what? And sometimes we have to move through these blocks and then you see what opens up. I will tell you another story. This last week, I have been a little bit stuck on my LIFEstory website, the one in the US. And it's just been sitting. And the lady who's working on it is like, when are we moving on this? And I was like, I'm coming, and blah, 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 blah. Okay, but I write it in my LIFEstory. All of a sudden, I get this urge to go, and I send her all this content to put up on that website so it can be pretty much done. The very same day that I did it, we got an email from the TV station in the US that wants to do a story on families mentoring families. So it's it's just a way to shift whatever is the block. So I love that message, Anthony. I love that story. That's a testimonial. He says, God has been faithful. Absolutely. And he's been faithful because you are. Because you did your part of writing it down. Yep. Be courageous. Don't be afraid. Yep. Totally. That's awesome. Okay. Do we have any other questions? Robert, did you have another question about what else? You said, what are some of the other things you look up to before writing down your life story? And I'm not totally sure what you mean by that. Can you just clarify what you mean by that, and then we'll answer it for you. Some of the other things. Has everybody had a chance to start your life story? Bernice said she's written in hers. I know Robert's done his. Obviously, Anthony's done his too. We have new people on here too. So I just want to make sure everybody has had a chance. Did you like the video clip that I posted in the group today? This was what was on my mind yesterday when I woke up, was that scene from that old movie, So Let It Be Written, So Let It Be Done. And I was like, oh, that's just like life story. It's like, once you write it down, it's like making your order, right? Like once you've written it down, you put in your order, so let it be written, like write it down, and then that's what will happen. So let it be done. And so I just thought that was so fitting. Okay, we are just wrapping up here. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do these trainings once a week. And so if you're free, jump on. If you're not free, you can catch the replay. But if you're on, then you will get to hang out with very cool people, right? We know that from success principles that your income is going to match the 5 people that you hang around with the most. Right? And so how do we hang around people that make higher income? Well, we hang around people that have a higher way of thinking, right? We hang around people that are thinking at a level that we're not thinking. And so we can become more like them. And I love that everyone has shared what's happening in your life story. I love to see, and I hope we'll just keep being able to report more progress and more things coming in from life story. So here's how we're going to do it. One of those weeks in a month, we're going to do a question and an answer like this, where you can bring your questions. You can always ask your questions in the group, but you can ask your questions in this call and we will answer them. We will do another one where I'm going to do a training. Okay, so the next call that we are going to do, actually the next one is probably going to be how to write your life story, and we'll have one of the coaches do those. We'll have the coaches take turns teaching that introductory class on how to write your life story. And then I will do a training, and I'm going to train on this book, The Game of Life and How to Play It. Okay, that I mentioned something about that we're reading, and it's about how to use affirmations in your life story and how to write them down. And I just want to read a couple of them to you so you can see what I'm talking about, because we will be doing the training on this, I think we might do it next week. We might do it in 2 weeks. I'm not totally sure yet. I think I might do it next week. But these are some affirmations that I like to write in my life story because they're fun and then they become true. So if you write something down like this, the genius within me is now released. I now fulfill my destiny. How awesome is that? It's just 2 sentences. The genius within me is now released. I now fulfill my destiny. And just think, if you were to write something like that in your life story, that becomes true. How cool is that? So cool. Okay. Here's another one. I am awake to my good and gather in the harvest of endless opportunities. Write that in your life story or something like it, right? I give thanks for my whirlwind success. I now draw, I am harmonious, poised, and magnetic. I now draw to myself my own. My power is God's power and is irresistible. So we can write some of these kinds of affirmations and we can use them in our life story. And so the next training that I'm going to do for life story is going to be on how to use these kinds of affirmations and write them in your life story. So you will want to come with your book and your fastest pen, your fastest pencil, so that you can write down some of these affirmations that I'm going to teach you. We have affirmations for all kinds of things, okay? Rhythm, harmony, and balance are now established in my mind, body, and affairs. New fields of divine activity now open for me, and these fields are white with the harvest. Cool. Very cool. Here's one. This is a good one for you, Robert, because it's kind of like what we were talking about. I am in perfect harmony with the working of the law, which means basically I'm trusting that it's working, right? Like I'm in harmony with the law. It's working. I trust that it's working. I'm in perfect harmony with the working of the law. I stand aside and let infinite intelligence, which in this case means God, make easy and successful my way. Because sometimes we like write in our life story and then we start to worry about it, right? And we get in our own way. And so this one, he says, I stand aside and let God make easy and successful my way, which means I don't have to worry about it because I know it's working. And even if it doesn't come when I thought it was going to come, doesn't mean it's not working. It doesn't mean it's not coming. It's still coming. So that's what we're going to do on our next training. Any last thoughts from anyone? Coaches, students who are also going to be coaches? We're coach training today. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
Can
go
you hear
ahead.
me? Yes, I think it's been wonderful. So
Yeah.
far, I think opportunity for people to ask questions like this, it's very helpful. Like it's been said, I think the whole thing about life story is about that positive energy in which we send out, and it's, once things are written down, it gives power. It tells even the universe, and not just the universe, it tells your creator what you are ready for at that time. And once it lets God to know, it's a way you let God set an intention to a life story. I consider it like a letter you are writing to God. So you tell him that this is what you want to happen in your life. And it just opens way, and your Lord and your creator knows that, okay, my child is ready for this now. And things that would help you accomplish that start coming around your way. And that's the power that comes with life story. It sets the whole universe in motion to help you accomplish your desires, your righteous desires. And it's, if anyone positively engages themselves in using life story, then they will start to see that positive outcome in their own personal life. I want to encourage everyone to let you know that life story works. You just have to remove all thoughts from your mind that whatever goals and things that you've set for yourself, do not restrict yourself as to the manner by which you want it to happen. Just open your mind freely after setting the goals, then you'll be amazed at how things will happen your way.
Awesome. Thank you.
Can I say something, Becky?
Yeah.
There's one thing that I'm writing on my life story. Being you is so important.
Yes.
Just being you, not anybody. Being yourself and being happy of yourself. And when you make your decision, affirm your decision. Don't change your decision. If you know that it's a righteous decision and it's a right decision, don't change it. Just go forward and affirm on that decision and execute that decision that you have made. Don't change, and don't change yourself for people. Just be yourself.
Yeah.
Don't change yourself. Be yourself and be who you are.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I write down and I'm going to put on my life story.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's a good place. You can put that, you can put it anywhere in your life story, but one place I like to put things like that is in under relationships with myself. Because like I'll write down things about relationships with my spouse, with my husband or my children or people that I work with. And sometimes I don't write anything about what about my relationship with myself? Like, how am I going to be like honest with myself, you know, and true. So I love that you said that. In fact, I would love it if you would just make a short video about that and post it in our group. I think that would be awesome.
I'll do that. I'll do that. Okay.
Awesome. Christine, do you have anything, any parting words? You don't have to.
For me, when you are writing your life story, don't write it when you are bored, when you are lonely. Write it when your vibration is also high, because it's like the energy you are putting into your life story, your vibration has to be very high, because you don't want to do it when you are not in good terms with your spouse, you are feeling low. That is when, because you are lonely, that is when you want to do your life story. No, do it when your vibration is high. And then life story is also like a wheel of life. So you have to know your attitude, career, like when you are choosing what you want to write, make sure that you have the right attitude, and then you can write about the career, finance, personal growth, health, family, relationship, and social life, and spiritual, relationship, health, physical, professional, and personal development. So you put pages, and then decide what you want to write and achieve on everything, like spiritual, relationship, everything. Decide what you want to achieve. Make it believable to you. And remember, beliefs and rules. If you don't believe you can do it, you probably won't do it. Like, you have to have that energy and that belief, like that nothing is stopping you from doing it. So what I just want to say that make sure you are in that good vibration when you are writing it, that happy place. Yeah.
I love that. That is such a great suggestion. Such a great suggestion. Thank you. Okay, everybody. See you next week.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.